Lipstadt, my secretary called. An express letter. Attention, Professor Deborah E. Lipstadt. My British publisher, Penguin Books, and I were being sued by David Irving for libel in my book, Denying the Holocaust, the Growing Assault on Truth and Memory. The lawsuit in the British Royal High Court accused me of severely damaging Irving's reputation as a historian. Let me explain. 8 years earlier, in 1987, two professors from the Center for the Study of Anti-Semitism at Hebrew University asked me to research Holocaust denial. As a professor of modern Jewish and Holocaust studies at Emory University, I had examined the Holocaust from many different perspectives, but this request stunned me. I thought it would be the equivalent of studying flat earth theorists, ridiculous, not worthy of academic attention. But I had such great respect for these professors that I decided to look into it. What I found was alarming. I came upon an organization called the Institute for Historical Review, a California-based group deeply dedicated to the cause of truth in history. The Institute promotes its racist, anti-Semitic rhetoric by hiding behind a pseudo-scholarly facade. This group calls the Holocaust the greatest lie in all of history. Such Holocaust deniers are increasingly infiltrating the mainstream, appearing on talk shows and infesting college campuses. I am repeatedly asked, what is wrong with learning a different perspective? How can we ignore the other side? These deniers should not be viewed as the other side. This is precisely their goal, to make it appear as if they are engaged in a genuine scholarly debate when of course they are not. Holocaust deniers mix truth with absolute lies and manipulate historical records, often by mistranslation. The abundance of documents and testimonies that confirm the Holocaust are dismissed as contrived, coerced, or compiled of forgeries and falsehoods. The shocking success that deniers have had in convincing well-meaning people that Holocaust denial is simply another side of history is frightening. At first, I did not fully grasp the degree to which I would encounter this camouflaging of hateful ideology under the guise of scholarship. On some level, Holocaust denial is as unbelievable as the Holocaust itself. Yes, no one is being killed as a result of the denier's lies, but denial constitutes an abuse of the survivors and a desecration of the truth of the murder of millions of innocent victims. My research intensified and my book was published in 1993. In my analysis, I mentioned Holocaust deniers such as David Irving, a British right-winger who is one of the most dangerous because he has published works of a historical nature, giving him a cloak of credibility. His work as a scholar is warped by his racist views. His books glorify Hitler. He has made public statements denying that there were gas chambers and claiming that Hitler had no knowledge of the final solution. Irving filed his libel suit in England, where my book had also been published. He really thought that I would back down and, as he put it, crack up and cop out, given that the trial was across the Atlantic and would be hugely expensive. Furthermore, in American libel cases, the burden of proof is on the plaintiff, Irving, but in England, it's on the defendant, me. This meant that unless I could prove what I had written to be true, the court would side with Irving, and his Holocaust denial would be legitimized. Interestingly enough, Irving did not seem all that eager to actually go through with the trial. He offered to drop the lawsuit if I released an apology. I refused. Not only would it damage my credibility, but more importantly, I would be contributing to the validation of Holocaust denial. I have never been one to shrink from standing up against injustice. I remember as a little girl marching with my mother during the Civil Rights Movement. I was raised to stick to what I believe in. After assembling a legal defense team, preparing for 4 years with expert witnesses, and incurring astronomical costs, the trial began on January 11, 2000, and lasted 10 weeks. We decided not to have survivors testify. We did not want them personally assaulted by Irving's venomous lies. At the insistence of my legal counsel, I was silent during the trial. My lawyers were adamant that my book spoke for itself. My silence was one of the most difficult challenges I faced, but I trusted their advice. I also knew that since Irving would be representing himself, allowing him to cross-examine me would force me into a debate-type situation with him, and we cannot be sucked into a debate that is no debate. It was painful to listen to Irving. From among the volumes of evidence of Irving's rampant anti-Semitism, my defense played a portion of a recording of a speech Irving gave to an extremist right-wing group. In this speech, he recalls his response to a Jewish questioner at another event. It was particularly chilling.
You are disliked, you people. You have been disliked for 3,000 years. You have been disliked so much that you have been hounded from country to country, from pogrom to purge, from purge back to pogrom. And yet you never ask yourselves why you are disliked. That's the difference between you and me. It never occurs to you to look in the mirror and say to yourself, why am I disliked? What is it that the rest of humanity doesn't like about the Jewish people to such an extent that they repeatedly put us through the grinder? And the man went berserk. He said, are you trying to say that we Jews are responsible for Auschwitz ourselves? I said, well, the short answer is yes. The short answer, I have to say, is yes.
What began as a libel trial became a trial of the historical truth of the Holocaust itself. Irving claimed there was no proof that Hitler had ordered a plan of extermination, no Jews were killed in gas chambers at Auschwitz, and the death toll of the Holocaust was fewer than 1 million Jews, rather than the widely acknowledged 6 million, and that most of those deaths were the result of disease, not murder. We presented the careful testimonies of numerous expert witnesses, renowned scholars in the field, and exposed each of Irving's perversions of history. But we were afraid we might not win. There was always the lingering possibility that we could lose on some insignificant technicality. History was on trial. The final judgment was scheduled for April 11th, 2000. I entered a courtroom where reporters and spectators were standing 3 and 4 deep. Judge Charles Bray delivered his verdict. Irving has, for his own ideological reasons, persistently and deliberately misrepresented and manipulated historical evidence. For the same reasons, he has portrayed Hitler in a favorable light, principally in relation to his attitude towards and responsibility for the treatment of the Jews. He is an active Holocaust denier. He is anti-Semitic and racist, and he associates with right-wing extremists who promote neo-Nazism. The world media loudly announced the monumental importance of our victory. Irving, consigned to history as a racist liar. David Irving's reputation as a historian is demolished. The Irving versus Lipstadt case has done for the new century what the Nuremberg tribunals and the Eichmann trial did for earlier generations. Congratulations came in an avalanche of messages, calls, and emails. But it was the communiques from survivors and their children that most overwhelmed me. Dear Professor Lipstadt, you do not know me and we will probably never meet. My mother was killed in Auschwitz. David Irving had warned my mother would have been a victim a second time. So too would everybody else who perished there. I loved my mother very much and have not seen her since 1939, when I was 14 years old. She was killed in 1944. Gratefully yours, Ed Bertolina. As time passes, and fewer people are able to use their personal experience to challenge the assertions of the deniers' campaign will only grow in intensity. The mind-boggling part is that the Holocaust is not ancient history. There are still survivors and other witnesses alive today. This generation of children is the last to be able to speak with Holocaust survivors. We cannot allow those with an agenda fueled by hatred to rewrite history. History is used to inform our attitudes, our decision-making, and consequently, our actions. We must be certain that historical facts are not distorted or obliterated. I dedicate this presentation to the memory of genocide victims everywhere, May the brutal historical reality of their deaths never be manipulated, denied, or forgotten. And to Professor Deborah Lipstadt, living her legacy as a historian who courageously fights for historical truth and makes history as she defends it. I will conclude with a portion of a memorial piece for the victims of the Holocaust. Ani mami, ani mami, ani mami, be'emuna shelema, beviat hamashiach, beviat hamashiach, ani mami, ve'af al pi she'imamea, im koseh, ani mami. Thank you.